What's up, everyone? It's your boy NornRad89 here, bringing you another video. For today's video, it's going to be a fun one because we're going to start slowly going over some Stephen King films on the channel. This is something that I'm not rushing on because I'm planning on a top 10 list, and I'm going to have a guest on that video coming on to join me as well, where we'll be talking about our top 10 Stephen King films in terms of mostly just horror-centered. We're not really venturing out into the other stuff. We have seen his other stuff, but we're mainly just focusing on the horror adaptations of Stephen King stuff. And today this one's going to be kind of a little bit more outside of horror. It's more sci-fi, but it's a little bit horror as well. I really wanted to talk about this one on the channel specifically just as a solo review because Stephen King kind of disowns this film. I think he actually sued to get his name stricken and taken off of this movie, and it's The Lawnmower Man from 1992. So let's discuss this sci-fi horror film from the 90s. Let's do it. Roll it. So The Lawnmower Man from 1992 stars Pierce Brosnan and Jeff Fahey in our lead roles. Pierce Brosnan plays Dr. Angelo, who is actually a doctor who's doing a special serum on chimps where he's trying to enhance the intelligence of primates. And he actually wants to use it to help, people who have humans who have, Down syndrome or, certain diseases that kind of hinders their mental ability and stuff like that. So he wants to inject them with it. But in the beginning of the movie, we kind of find out that the serum does have very aggressive, side effects on its, serum on the patients that they're testing it on, like, the chimps and everything. One of the chimps in the beginning of the movie ends up dying. So fair warning, trigger warning if you don't like animal deaths, even though it's like fake, it's not a real chimp. Like I said, they didn't really kill a chimp on screen. But like I said, if that animal deaths just bother you in movies as well, you might want to skip that part or not watch that scene. And then that leads into Angelo, Dr. Angelo, Pierce Brosnan's character, who ends up meeting, if I can speak. I worked last night, so if I could speak, meeting Jeff Fahey's character, who is Job, and he's kind of, like I said, he's slow, he's mentally challenged and everything, and then Pierce Brosnan starts, slowly changing his serum and testing it on Job, and that highly increases his intelligence, which actually ends up being a very bad thing in this film. So for me, I wanted to really talk about this one because I think it's kind of funny that on my journey that I've been watching all the Stephen King adaptations, at the point of filming this video, there's only two that I haven't seen. Out of all of his films, there's only two I haven't seen, and that's The Mangler and The Monkey. That's it, at the point of filming this video right now. So in terms of Stephen King adaptations, I think a lot of them are slam dunk, really good. There's only like 3 adaptations that I don't like, and I'll end up talking about those one day when we do maybe solo reviews, because like I said, over the next couple weeks or next couple months, I want to do reviews for Stephen King films, but I'm not trying to rush this. I'm really trying to enjoy this journey. Like I said, I'm slowly watching them. I'm revisiting old ones, but also watching new ones. And this one was one of those ones that was a first-time watch, but I ended up watching it twice just to really affirm my feelings on this, and I really do adore this film. Of course, this is not a great film. This is not a fantastic adaptation or anything like that, but it's a film that's very charming and I think was ahead of its time. Main reason why it's ahead of its time is because of graphics. First of all, this film tackles very huge subjects when it comes to cybernetics and diving into, the artificial world and everything like that, and the virtual world, and tackling that kind of stuff in 1992. You're pushing your limits, because even Tron, I love Tron, that first film, but the graphics, like I said, they leave you with a lot to be desired. But besides the graphics being bad, like I said, there's a charming nature to it, and a lot of that, huge positives. This is just what really drives this film, is Pierce Brosnan and Jeff Fahey's performance. They are outstanding, and they deliver like serious, really Oscar-worthy type performances. Like, they take their characters very serious in this film, and that's why I love it, because when you describe this premise to a person of this film, they're going to tell you, wow, that sounds like some crappy like B-movie type shit. But like I said, the way that Pierce Brosnan and Jeff Fahey specifically portray their characters, it's fascinating. One thing I really love about Pierce Brosnan's character is he knows how to smoke a cigarette, and that's a one fantastic thing I love about an actor is there are certain times when you watch actors or actresses do certain things in movies, and you can tell it's like that they don't do that every day, or they've never done that in their life. This is something they're acting at. Pierce Brosnan's one of those actors you can just see. He smokes, but he does it in different ways, the way he smokes a cigarette. And like I said, it's just fantastic because he portrays so many things with his body language. And like I said, Jeff Fahey has a lot of heavy lifting too, because he plays a character that progressively gets smarter and smarter and more threatening and more dangerous throughout the film, and you feel his presence. Another shout out I want to give to the cast is Austin O'Brien, who plays young Peter in this film. I know him from Prehysteria, and he's also in The Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger, so that's where you guys will probably know him from. Fantastic young actor that was key for my childhood, because like I said, he was in, like I said, this film, which I didn't see till now, but as a child I watched him in The Last Action Hero and Prehysteria, two reoccurring watches in my youth, and like I said, seeing him in this film was an absolute gem. Another thing I like about The Lawnmower Man is that this is a very sci-fi driven plot, and I love sci-fi horror, and there is horror elements in here because, of course, when Job gets the high intelligence of the virtual world and basically becomes smarter than every man on the planet and has godlike intelligence, that pushes him to certain bounds and certain limits and everything, and what he does to attain those powers and that knowledge, but also what he does to keep it. It's very horrifying. And like I said, when you get to the aspect of, looking at it through Dr. Angelou's point of view, it's like, oh, what is this monster that I created? Because his idea was just, I want to test the serum on a human. I want to help people. I want people to get smarter and really just eliminate the fact that, there are mental disabilities in this world. But sometimes you got to look at that fact that maybe some people are dealt that hand for certain reasons, or that's part of life because of life. But, you learn that in this film, like there's a price to pay when you do play with God in that way, kind of thing, no pun intended. But yeah, Dr. Angelou finds that point out really when he actually, like I said, decides to play and be like God and affect Job like that way. And when his intelligence just keeps growing and growing and growing, it's amazing to see how Jeff Fahey portrays this character. Another thing for me is, like I said, I love the production design of this film. This is a film that it doesn't look like they skimped on the production design. Like for the time it was, they really threw the money at this film. And even, like I said, the computer graphics and the CGI, it doesn't age that well. You can tell production wise, and like there's guns in here, there's explosions, there's action sequences, there's sci-fi sequences, and there's horror sequences and deaths and everything. So for real, they did not skimp on the budget with this film. And like for me, I think it's just fascinating that Stephen King thought this was such a horrendous portrayal or adaptation of his story that he wrote for this film, which I would love to read the story, which I believe this is based off a short story. I don't know if this is like a novel or a novella or just a short story, but it's based off of one of his. And I think it's just kind of fascinating that he basically disowned this project and was like, take my name off of it, because this is not a bad film. This isn't a fantastic film. This isn't going to blow the doors open and win any Oscars, but there's some great performances in here. This is a once in a lifetime type film that when you watch it, this is something that could only be produced and made, I think, in the early 90s. And I think Lawnmower Man is a really good film. If I was to give it a rad rating, this isn't kind of traditional rad rating type stuff. I wanted this to be more just talking about my vibes and my feelings with these Stephen King movies. A lot of these are going to be return tos that I've watched freaking many times, but some of them, like I said, like The Lawnmower Man, I've only seen this film twice, and on my two experiences watching it, it landed for me both times. I had a lot of fun. I would give this film a rad rating at a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, this is one that I would return to. I like the performances, and I think this is one that is worth the watch. And, Stephen King, I don't know what's up with your britches and what's all about your panties, but yeah, this film's a pretty good film, dog. But thanks for sticking around with me all for this video. Please like the video. That definitely helps out the channel. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and have that notification bell poked so you're notified anytime I drop a video, because we got more content coming. But most importantly, I want you all to have a safe and happy day. Peace out.